Hi, I'm Chris Banta. I'm a spry 33, 6'2", like 190. Wish I was like 175 or something. I'm in Brother, Oh Brother. It's like garage rock, kind of, whatever band. And then I run a record label called Romanus Records.
You say I'm alright. I know I'm alright. But the wolf prays in. Even dressed in lace and white. Whoa, don't you know she's a wolf? Woo! She's a wolf, and she's clothing. Ooh, yeah.
Romanus Records is just, Facebook.com/Romanus Records, or just Romanus Records on Instagram. And then Brother, Oh Brother is Brother, Oh Brother _ on Instagram, and then just Facebook.com/Brother, Oh Brother on the book face. And there's no verified Tinder. This is a family business.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. If I could just get a grab of you, glory.
There I was, sweet, soft, and savory. No, I mean, I'm huge into sports, still am. And when I was growing up, I thought people who played instruments were dorks. Like, I was just like, this is stupid. My stepdad, really cool dude, he plays guitar a little bit, and he always had a guitar around. And I started farting around with it in 6th grade, and he was like, hey, do you want to maybe borrow one of my guitars and play? I'm like, nah, Dad. It's for dweeb. Come on. Just looking at it. And I was in this cul-de-sac, and there's this girl across the way, that hot, delicious cul-de-sac love, and she said she really liked my guitar playing. I didn't know anything I was doing. But then I told my dad, I'm like, hey, I want to learn how to play guitar. So that's how I got into music, ever so slightly. And then I just kept, I always kept it fun. I took like 2 or 3 lessons from a guy in a different cul-de-sac, and then that was about it. And so time passes. I'm in, little high school, little goof off things, as you do. Then I was in my first semi-real-ish band, for a couple of years, called The Red Wire. It was whatever. But from that experience, I learned a ton about what works, what doesn't, what's good, what sucks. So I always felt like I had something cool that I could deliver if I could sort of mold a band to my image. And so I created Brother, Oh Brother with a buddy. We had a bass player for a second and looking for a drummer. And then Warner, who's a drummer for Brother, Oh Brother now, always has been as far as everyone knows. I met him at Lowe's, and we had actually played a couple shows together back when I was in a different band and he was in a different band. I go, hey man, you look familiar. Were you in a band or something? He goes, yeah, I go, hey, I'm actually trying to start this other thing. Do you want to give it a shot? Just total happenstance that, he's like, sure. We jammed and then that was it. There's no reason that band should exist, at all. That happens. Time progresses. We have a bass player. He leaves, and we decide, hey, let's be a 2-piece for now. If there's, if we need a bass player, we'll get one. And we just built a really awesome friendship that means so much to me to this day. Yeah, we're like best friends, and our wives are super tight, and just everything. And watch wrestling together. We do it all. It's been cool to have whatever level of success that we have had, and get to tour a lot. And we're supposed to do our first Euro tour this year, but then COVID happened. But I know we'll go back. But out of the band came my label. So we were on a couple independent labels. I started to experimenting with all this custom vinyl, real experimental stuff that I do, like all this sand filled and LED records and liquid filled and all this stuff. And when I was doing it, this was probably, goodness gracious, in like 2016 or 15 when I first started really. The label didn't exist yet, but I was just screwing around. I felt like, there had only been really 1 or 2 liquid fields ever made at that point, and I felt like everyone was so infatuated with that. And then one day my brain was just like, this is stupid. There's this whole other art space that I don't think people are exploring. And so I started developing over time my own methods and experiments and stuff on how to make these really crazy insertion vinyl records. And we had 2 albums out on PhonoFlow Records. Our first one we didn't have on vinyl because when it came out we weren't big enough, no one would have cared. But our second album sold pretty well on vinyl. We're like, hey, let's bring our first record back out on vinyl. And that was the first time I did a custom record, and I did 60 of these glow-in-the-dark Dino Bone filled records, and they were $60 a pop, and we were on tour, and so I was managing the sale on my phone, and I was like, man, this feels like a lot of money. I don't know if anybody's going to buy this crap. I had 60 of them, and they sold out in like 3 minutes. That was like a huge, like, whoa, like for just like a mid-level band that's just grinding away. You're like, dude, that's like almost $4,000. Like, in a couple minutes, that's a lot of money. It was at that time I created Romanus Records because I needed people to know I was making them, not the label we were on. So it was like the album is put out by PhonoFlow, but the customs were made by Romanus Records. And so from there, I did 1 or 2 other things. Like I did like the first sand-filled record, and that was a split actually with Sarah. And we did a split 7-inch with the Ghost Wolves. And so the first like 3 projects all still kind of had brother tied to it. I had seen enough at that point. I'm like, all right, I should really start this thing, like this label, and start bringing other bands on. And so I think our first like brother tied release was we repressed the Ghost Wolves' first self-titled album or whatever. It had been out of press for a real long time, and I added an entire new B-side to it and all this stuff, and we did these glow-in-the-dark razor blade and gunpowder filled records that were nuts. We called it Dangerous Vinyl. I had to like unwrap like almost like 400 razor blades or something stupid. I didn't cut myself at all. I couldn't believe it. Since then, it's been such a cool little ride where the label and the band have really helped each other. I mean, the first place we were in, me and my wife were living above this screen print shop, and then we were basically like real quick had to find somewhere. We lived with some friends. Their house was getting worked on, but they had all these leaks in their roof, and we took over their entire upstairs. And so I worked in this attic with no ventilation, and there'd be all this leaks. And so anytime I had these custom records I was building, if it started raining, I'd call my wife, be like, baby, get out the buckets. And like there'd be 8 or 10 of these buckets of towels and all this stuff I'd be like, get everything out of the way, and it was wild. And then we got a house, and I'm in right now my studio, little record room office, and like for me just even have this was like, whoa, cool. And then now business has grown so much in the last really 8 months or so. Right now we're building onto the home for my business. We just built like a building, which has just been cool. It's been such a steady, continuous little growth where it's just being steady about it, keep putting out new creative, not just creative releases, but it's music that we like, music that we really love, and stuff that it's just like all these mid-level bands. That's like our real heart. Like we've worked with some huge bands, but the mid-level stuff of like bands like the Mutts, Ghost Wolves, Volk, Manus Brothers, all these rad bands that are touring really hard, putting out great stuff. And I mean, Volk did almost 200 days last year. That stuff is happening more than people might realize. These mid-level bands that are doing between 50 to 200 dates a year, and they're going to Europe, and they're all doing it without like label reps or like anything. And man, that's where our passion is. And the band, with us still going on tour and stuff, like has allowed us to meet a lot of new great road bands that like end up coming onto the label. That's our biggest passion, is that kind of stuff and things that are unique. We've got some stuff coming out with Lung. later in the year, Tart and James Legg. We just talk about, we always call like the Romanus fam, and it's cool because it's so many of these people that already did sort of stuff together, and now we're all like this. There's this real kind of family, kind of like, hey, yeah, sure, I did something with Romanus, and like everyone's able to roll into town, and if you're going through a certain town, like, hey, like use the roster, start talking to people. So yeah, it's been such a cool ride. I went full time with vinyl about 8 months ago. For a couple of years, I always had some crummy part-time job and vinyl, and just trying to make it all work, and just started, making enough money now that I went full time. And that was mostly due to, I opened up a manufacturing side of my business called Romanus Custom Vinyl Manufacturing, where I kept all these crazy custom designs like just for my label for like 4 years or something. But I'd done a thing or two for other labels, but there was never any like, hey, come here and order this. And I built out a site where I've got, because of the label, it's like I already have all this like long-term experience and testing and everything, and experimentation. And so I made this thing where I was just like, hey, here's like 7 or 8 different types of things I can do. They cost this much, and I can do full service, whatever. Doors are sort of open, and I haven't even really advertised it. But it was so weird. The moment I did that, stuff started coming in. Sony, Universal, Metal Blade Records, The Orchard, all of it, Concord, they all started calling. It's been awesome. So I've gotten to do some like really cool projects already. I got to do some liquid fills for the new Black Dahlia Murder record. I did stuff for Igor, the super weird metal band out of Germany. And like there's these other really cool license releases that I want to tell you about that I can't right now, but I did a 28 Weeks Later soundtrack. I'm finishing that up now, and it's been cool, man, and I'm so excited and so thankful for, what's going on, and just I'm very blessed. Corona's really ruining a lot of people's livelihoods and stuff, and mine has been growing. I just want to encourage people just to keep following the dream, man, and it's, sometimes it's just you got to jump off the boat, but I think a lot of times it's just you can't quit. You just have to stay steady and just keep working and chopping away, and more than likely there's going to be a pushing off point and something good's going to happen. And just as far as like the future and stuff goes, like I've got stuff coming out. Release schedule's gotten weird for every label, but I've been telling everybody now's a great time to put out a record. Now, don't be trying to wait till the world's good again and go tour. Get a record out now and then write another one, because you can dedicate your sole focus to promoting it. So if you're a band that's on the fence about show, man, put something out, put it out now. Now's a great time. But yeah, we just had Pac AD Brother Split drop like 2 days ago. That was so cool. That's a band I love. I can't believe I'm getting to do something with my own band, with them. Volk has a new album coming out. Tart, Lung. We have a thing from a guy called Frankie Sunswept out of New York. He used to be in a band called Crushed Out, and we put out one of their albums. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. We haven't said anything yet, but anyone who locally is listening, unless the second half of this album sucks or something, we'll put out the new Joshua Powell album, which is fun. We haven't done a ton of Indiana releases, but like it'll make sense. I'm trying to stay optimistic about the future, and I know my future I feel really confident about, but also I'm trying to remain optimistic for the future of the music industry, and just doing everything reasonable that I can to protect that, and standing up for things like the post office. And we desperately need that infrastructure for labels and bands to survive, so just really looking forward to what's to come.